And pleasure to be able to present this opportunity to our citizens to get to know our candidates a little bit better. Thank you so much to the city for providing audiovisual, to the SPA for this beautiful space, and of course to the Women's League of Voters for moderating, facilitating this event for us. So we are going to go until 6:45, and without further ado, I'm going to turn over the floor to Tanya with the Women's League of Voters. She's going to talk about the ground rules and how everything will go. And if you haven't yet, make sure you fill out a card. Is it too late to do that, Tanya?
No, not too
okay.
late.
You can fill out an index card at the back table with any questions you have and give that straight to the Women's League of Voters, and they'll take care of that for you. All right, again, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Good evening. I'm Linda Metzko, and I'd like to welcome you to the Safety Harbor Candidate Forum, and it's sponsored by the League of Women Voters of North. There we go. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I'm not used to speaking on the microphone. Good evening. I'm Linda Metzko. I'm with the League of Women Voters of North Pinellas County, and I'd like to welcome you to the Safety Harbor Candidate Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of North Pinellas County. Just a quick little history of the League. It was created in 1920, about the time that women were given the right to vote. And since 1949, the League has been open to both men and women. The League of Women Voters strongly supports the electoral process and encourages voters to educate themselves prior to voting and to encourage all others qualified to vote. The hallmark of democracy is the willingness to treat all with courtesy and respect, not just those we agree with. Keep in mind the March 19th municipal election, the registration deadline is February 20th. So you can visit the Supervisor of Elections at www.votepinellas.com if you have any questions regarding registering to vote. The questions were submitted in advance to the League and screened to make sure they are fair and may have been rewritten for clarity. League membership is open to all, and we encourage anyone, male or female, who would like to join the League to participate in or to go to our website and look for the League of Women Voters of North Pinellas County. Tanya Laundrie is our moderator, and Sue Carnett is our timekeeper. And I just wanted to let you know I'm sitting on the second row there, and I'm the one collecting the cards if you have additional questions for the candidates. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Just a few sort of housekeeping notes. If everyone can just make sure that your phones are silenced so that we can make sure we have our full attention to the candidates and the answers they're going to give us tonight to our questions. We also wanted to just remind you that we are going to go to 6:45. The candidates are going to have an opening statement. It's 2 minutes. Then we will be asking questions. The questions are 1 minute. And then they will have a closing statement, which is 2 minutes. And that will be the order. So without further ado, we'll get started with the questions. All right, opening statement. Nancy, you're first.
Thank you. I used to have an assistant principal who started every presentation with this statement: "It is an honor to be in your presence." And that's how I feel about tonight. It is an honor that I'm able to be here in beautiful Safety Harbor and make the case to continue on the commission. I love Safety Harbor. I've enjoyed serving Safety Harbor. You know me, you know my education, many of you. You know I have a PhD in education and that I care about children. You know I have a legal degree from Stetson University. I'm a Hatter. I'm a bull and I'm a Hatter, among other institutions with which I've been affiliated. But I'm very proud of being part of this community and using my degree and my degrees and experience to help people in Safety Harbor. And what you don't know about me, besides my education and the fact that I have lived here for 33 years, that's all on my campaign card, but you don't know that I love to sing, for instance. As I've been campaigning these last 2 weeks, I've run into people who have said, bikers on the path, for instance, keep singing. I'm just wondering, how do you hear me? It's Espiritu Santo. And you also might know I love to garden. I have landscaped my yard several times at 113th Avenue South. The cranberry jacket matches the cranberry house. I have very bold paint. You can't miss my property. I also love the park. I love the owls. I have one with me that my John gave me years ago. He gave me this for a forum, I think in 2009. And the owl that I have with me represents our owls that we have currently that are nesting. And if you haven't been down there to that treasure of Philippi Park, I encourage you to do it. It is just gorgeous. So to cap it all up, I'm invested here. I love it here. I enjoy serving you. I'm educated for the job. I'm up for the job, and I hope for your support. And thank all of you who are here and all of you who are at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for the applause, but in order to get as many questions as we have tonight, if we can hold the applause until the end, and then you can go wild. Scott, opening statement.
Well, thank you, Chamber of Commerce, League of Women Voters, the SPA for hosting us, and all of you for spending some time on your Thursday night with us. The 1 year that I served you as a city commissioner was the best year of my life because it was the best job I've ever had. It was a part-time job, but I gave a full-time effort to it. And I was particularly proud of the constituent service I gave. I was the first commissioner to have a commissioner Facebook page. I responded to every single message any of you sent me with an average response time of 12 minutes. That's how serious I took this job when I had it. Since I left office, I gave back to this community with the Safety Harbor Public Library Foundation, the Whispering Souls African American Cemetery Restoration Project, and during COVID, I saw a need to bring us together by creating the Safety Harbor Strong Facebook group. For the longest time, I was content with just doing that, and I was telling friends for the past year that I wasn't gonna run again. So what changed? It was a number, the number 53. That is the number of combined years of service our 5 commissioners have had. That's more than 11 years each. Our president only serves 8 years. To be clear, they're all great public servants. They're all doing it for the right reasons. But after a while, complacency can set in, and it's time for some new ideas. That institutional knowledge that they all have is valuable, but it's only valuable if you have people asking new ideas and making them look at things in a different way. 2 months into my term, one of the city department heads who's now retired, I went to meet her to talk to her, and she leaned across the desk and said, "Scott, you are a breath of fresh air that this commission needs." 6 years later, I still am that breath of fresh air, and I appreciate your support on March 19th.
Thank you. Jacob.
Hi, everyone. Jacob Burnett, Commission seat number 2. Before I express my vision and qualifications, I'd like to first take a moment and let us appreciate Commissioner Cliff Mers. His dedicated service for 4 terms on the council certainly benefited this community, and I'm humbled for this opportunity to continue his legacy. I'd also like to recognize the SPA and the Chamber, the League of Women's Voters, and most importantly, those of you that are in attendance today. Thank you for bringing your support and interest into the selection. Your voices really matter. As a family man with 2 daughters and a passion for running marathons, I bring a positive attitude and friendly attitude to every single thing that I do. Since 2014, I've been an active member of this community, volunteering my time in multiple ways. I've sat on multiple citizen advisory boards, 2 with the Parks and Recreation Board and 2 terms with the Personnel Review Board. Additionally, I'm a member of the elementary school PTA, Espiritu Santo Catholic Church, and I'm active with the Knights of Columbus. Also, I've had multiple board positions with a local and thriving Toastmasters group where I've had the privilege of teaching leadership and communication skills to both youth and adult audiences. Professionally, I'm the Director of Operations for a national courier and logistics company. I have a strong history of leading successful teams, collaborating at every single level, consistently delivering results. While my passion for the success and protection of our city runs deep, I want to assure all the voters that my decisions will be grounded on facts, data, and research, not driven by emotion. My primary initiative is to engage all residents and ensure their voices are brought forward actively. Together, we'll build a future we can be proud of. Thanks.
Thank you, Jacob. Haley.
Hi. I would really like to start by thanking everybody here tonight. It is such a pleasure to see you come out and be a part of our local political process. It starts at the local level, and I would really like to see everybody help turn out the vote. This will be a very decisive year. Now, as I go on into my background, I just want to let you know that I am a Florida native. I have spent many years here. I have been in Safety Harbor for going on 11 years now, and I have 10 years, going on 11 years in the risk management field, which has allowed me to express different qualities that I have, executive decision making, and the buck stops with me when it comes to my job. I am very proud of my family. My son, who is a member of Safety Harbor Elementary, he is a very dedicated student there, making the principal's list and getting involved in lots of programs that is broadening his education. And as I have seen the amazing work that Safety Harbor has been doing, I signed up to become a volunteer for Pinellas County Schools, which has given me many wonderful experiences that I am very proud of. I'd like to bring that same enthusiasm, that same drive that I have to make every day better than the last, and I promise that when I win the Safety Harbor City Commissioner seat too, that we will make Safety Harbor stronger, better, and more unified. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the questions will go in rotating order so everyone has the opportunity to be first. So since Nancy was first for the opening statement, Scott, you get the first question.
Thank you.
What do you think your role is as a council member?
There are lots of roles the council member has. The biggest one for me is a cheerleader for our city. I think this is the most amazing place I've ever lived. It's probably the most amazing place everybody in this audience has lived. And to be sure that it stays that way and people know about it. Beyond that, though, as I mentioned, we have to be very creative with ideas, and this is a part-time job, and as I mentioned before, I took it as a full-time job when I did it. Every commissioner has a choice to decide how much time they want to spend. I chose to spend a lot of my time with it, and that was with researching ideas, talking to elected officials from around the state to get ideas on what we can do here, what worked for them and what didn't work for them. And that kind of dedication is exactly what I think a commissioner needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob, same question.
The role of a commissioner, I'm really excited to learn what it looks like firsthand. But from the outside looking in, my perspective is we have a great staff here in Safety Harbor, from the city manager to all the department heads to everybody that works there. And I've got some great close relationships with each of them from serving on the boards over the last several years. What I view the role as a commissioner is to be to cover the gap between what our city staff is doing and what our residents want and need. All right? Our job is to stay connected with the local population, be open-minded to everything that they would like to say, and then go back and evaluate the reality of whether or not we can afford to do things, whether the impact it benefits us or hurts us in the long run, then make those recommendations to our great city staff to execute. Thanks.
Thank you. Haley.
Yes, I believe that the role of city commissioner is to listen to not only the constituents, the legal team, the staff, and evaluate what is best for the community. In a fiscal responsible manner, I plan to be very concerned about how we spend our our money, how we use it to best benefit all communities. And most importantly, I believe that we need to be more engaged with our local communities, possibly doing, every 2-3 months, meet and greets in each community, making sure that we're hearing the concerns that our citizens have, whether they're actively participating or they're silently, fretting. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy.
Thank you very much for the question, and whoever submitted it. I think of the role that I've been so happily doing for so many years as a connections role. Whereas Taylor Swift had her Eras tour, I feel I have the connections tour. How can I connect with community? How can I take what you want and connect it back on the dais? And what we do when we're elected is we have a goal setting session. So we take what we hear out on the campaign path. We, by the way, make voluminous notes. When you say something to me that you don't like or you do like, I scribble it in my notebook and on I go. I spoke to a couple of you the last couple of days, and you told me you're frank at the door often. If you answer the door, if you're not my friend Scotty who hides when the knock comes, but if you open the door, you're telling me and you're talking. So that's what I am. I'm a liaison. And we have a great team. We have a wonderful sports team. We have a connected team. That's how I think of this commission. We're losing the shortstop, Cliff, but I don't want you to lose the fielder. And I think that that's what I can do best, connect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jacob, you get the next question. Next question. Describe your own experiences being involved or called to serve with different aspects of this community, such as local businesses, organizations, and nonprofits.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for this question. Yes, community engagement from our residents is actually one of my initiatives and platforms that I'm running with. I applied for a citizen advisory board and had to sit in waiting for a couple of years. Once I was appointed to 2 boards at the same time. So I went from 0 to the hot seat right away. And I loved every minute of it. I got to be so close with the things that were happening behind the scenes and getting recommended to city council. It was a joy, but our bench strength is weak. All right, so we need to go invite more people to have the same experience. It is such a joy. You get to make a difference. I've already recruited my replacement for the personnel board that I had to step down on as soon as I became a candidate. And I've had 3 other people turn in applications since I left to make sure that my parks board is filled with a qualified candidate should I leave that as well. It's a great way to be connected, and I'll invite everybody to take a chance at it when they can. Thanks.
Thank you. Haley, same question.
Could you repeat it for me?
Sure, it is a long question. Describe your own experiences being involved or called to serve with different aspects of this community, such as local businesses, organizations, and nonprofits.
Thank you for that. Well, like I said, I am a volunteer with Pinellas County Schools, and that has taken me on quite a few adventures. I am also a member of Tampa Bay Waterkeepers, and I work on regular projects to ensure that we are doing the best by our bay and not allowing it to become overrun with stormwater runoff and the detriment that it has on the seagrass and the water quality is very important to me. I'd like to feel safe when my son goes running out to play off of our beach here at beautiful Waterfront Park, and I look forward to continuing that work. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
Yes, thank you again for the question. My involvement goes way back. I ran a camp at the museum years and years ago, probably maybe 96. I had an active role in the museum's historical marker activity. We used to meet at least monthly, and we would write narratives for the places such as the St. James Hotel. And then we each had a place to approach, and we had to come up with this narrative, and those plaques are around town for you to enjoy. When Whispering Souls was being supported. I jumped in. I wasn't noisy. I wasn't a noisy helper, but I was a worker. A gentleman, a Kawanian, said to me, "Man, you're a worker." And I said, "I love it." I was very excited about the fundraiser that was held at the little restaurant off Elm Street, and I was excited to help clear the property. And again, not doing these things alone, but with a team. Paint your heart out, same thing. Love it, do it. I love buddying up with Commissioner Merce. I don't think he knows it, but I signed up with his same team as he did and his wife this year. I enjoy things like that. Again, it's connections, it's helping. I am a hospitality minister helper at church. I used to be official and now I'm unofficial. I jump in. They need to pass the basket, I'm there. And
Thank you.
that's who I am. And I think you need to stop me. Is that
I do.
right? Okay, thank you.
I was going to let you finish. I was going to let you finish that last sentence.
I didn't see the sign.
Scott.
Thank you. I'm going to need way more than 2 minutes on this question.
Yeah, sorry.
Honestly, anybody that knows me knows how committed I am to Safety Harbor and everything I do in our community. I'm not going to waste my 2 minutes by reading off my resume. I told you some of the organizations I've already been involved in. You can go to votescottlong.com and see everything else I've done. Last year, a friend came up to me and asked me, how much money do you think you've raised for Safety Harbor causes? I don't keep track. It's not a scoreboard for me. But I did go back and look, and I'm sure it's well more than $100,000. My passion is in raising money for good causes, and we have plenty of great causes here to do that with. You mentioned involvement with the business. There are very few business owners in town, I think, will tell you that I'm not one of the biggest cheerleaders for them, and I work very hard for them. And I'm going to continue to work hard for them because the business community supports our nonprofit community, and the nonprofit community is what makes Safety Harbor special. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Haley, you get the first question. The next question. Could you detail your past experiences demonstrating fiscal responsibility with regard to the management of public funds?
Thank you. Yes, that's a great question for me. In fact, in my 10 years in risk management, part of my position is to ensure that we did not incur losses to the company that were unnecessary. When losses occur to a company, such as the financial sector that I've been working in, those losses come back on the taxpayers. I took the job very, very seriously. It's extremely important to avoid putting the burden on taxpayers, and I believe that that is part of being fiscally responsible. Another aspect of that in my previous experience is just living within my means, doing my best to support my family on what we have, and it's been a great ride. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Nancy.
Yes. 11 years of service, part of that 53 quoted earlier. And I'm proud to say that we have the commission, the sports team, that I'm an exemplary member, I feel. We've kept the tax rate solid. We've been conservative. We've been able to meet needs. We've been able to keep to a budget. Our department heads are stellar in going over everything with a fine comb and then presenting to us, and then we look at it, we hear you in July, and I hope we hear a lot more of you, because as you know, there's some conversation. Everything we do here that is so exemplary requires funds, and we are at the low end of the tax base in the municipalities. So if we're looking at our recreation, we're looking at fire, we're looking at our employees, public works, etc. We as a community and we as a commission will have to talk, and you're going to need the expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I've started 2 businesses, and if you've ever started a business, and I see a lot of business owners out there in the crowd now, particularly in this town, you've invested every dime you've saved in your life, and you've shook the couch cushions for every quarter you can find. And when you do that, it becomes very important that you take care of that money and spend it wisely. In terms of being on the city commission, I like to be very creative with how we raise and spend our money. We are coming up on a very difficult budget cycle coming up. We no longer can count on our homes rising at a rapid pace and keeping our millage rate low. So we have to look at new ways. And one of the things that I was deeply concerned about when I was commissioner before is our bloated reserves. Our investments on that are not keeping up with inflation. So as long as those reserves are staying there, we're essentially spending it without getting anything out of it. So we need to be creative on how we spend those.
Thank you. Jacob?
Thank you for the question. In the private sector, I've been trusted with some pretty large capital projects, in excess of $5 million. And I've managed those projects all within budget, stayed close to the fiscal ramifications of what we were doing, and served well. In the public sector, I've been a part of several public organizations, volunteer organizations. Toastmasters is one of them. We have a small budget, but we have to keep it tight and keep it in sync. Also, Parks and Recreation Board, that's leisure services for this town. If you don't look around, leisure services is a huge part of Safety Harbor. The budget for leisure services is really huge. I've spent many monthly meetings sitting down with Andrew Norwood, the director of leisure services, where we've gone line by line on what's expected to be spent in the parks in this town. So I'm familiar with it, I can manage finances, and I know what the city has to offer. And I've made it almost all the way through the 300-page budget that currently exists for the city, all right? And they do a great job keeping us in line. Thanks.
Thank you. Nancy, you get the next question.
Yes, ma'am.
The next question is, what is your vision for Safety Harbor?
My vision for Safety Harbor is to continue to develop, to continue to grow, but watch my hand. I like this. I like what we've been doing. I like the pace. I pay attention to what's happening in municipalities, not only locally, but I look nationwide. And I know people hate, oh, what happened back north, but I watch what happened back north. I watch where I left, Glen Ellen, Illinois, and I watch how people feel. And I know how people feel here. They love it here. We throw around the word quaint, we throw around the words charming, etc., but they're true. I just talked to somebody today, I hope she won't mind if I say it, Miss Tanya. She said she rented here for a couple of years and wants every opportunity to come back. She comes back for Third Friday. She comes back for events. She's here with us now. She loves it. I go to the spa frequently, and I hear all the time how people take day trips here from Wesley Chapel, from Tampa. They come here. We're doing something right, but I don't want to go like this. I don't want Back to the Future where we wake up one day and woo, Mr. Human, whom I admire and respect for what he's done with the St. James, but I want moderation too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Balance.
Scott.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to go back to this being the best place any of us have ever lived. I moved here 22 years ago, and I fell in love with driving down Main Street, and I fell in love with the potential of Main Street. If you lived here 22 years ago, you know there wasn't a lot going on there. In fact, the tumbleweed was so bored it told his buddy tumbleweed to go to another town where there's some action. So here we are now. We've actually discovered the vibrancy of what this community can do. We need to continue to keep that going. I agree with Nancy. We need to balance it. We need to find ways to mitigate some of the downsides of that. But I like the trajectory that this city is going on. Every time I drive to town, I drive by a sign that says this is the jewel of Tampa Bay. It certainly is, and it's because there's a number of us working hard to keep it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob.
Thanks, guys. My vision of Safety Harbor is very similar to what it is today, but keep progressing towards a usable and walkable downtown for everybody that comes and visits us. I engage with so many people around downtown, and the locals aren't local anymore. They're here every weekend, but they don't live here. We're going to continue to attract that all the time. Now, on top of it, we need to protect and expand our usable green space. This is happening. There's going to be more residents and more buildings as we go. Just the demand is going to make it happen. But our green space is so important to make this place charming. The city has done a great job seizing opportunities to do this. They're doing it right now with 5 acres on Elm Street, if you didn't already know. That's going to be an extension of what we've got going on in Folly Farms with community gardening. There's a 40-person wait list for the community garden at Folly Farms right now. There's that many people in our community that want to enhance not just the downtown tall buildings, but what we're doing with our parks and the environment we live in. The city is doing a great job. I can't wait to see the Elm Street property go up. I get to be involved in it whether I'm at Parks and Rec or on the commission either way. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Haley, your vision.
My vision is to keep Safety Harbor quaint, comfortable, safe. Safe is the most important part. And I would like to have the additional development that we will see, as everybody has stated, it will come, but it needs to come with proper infrastructure and make sure that the developers that are coming in are taking care of our strained infrastructure, including our aging pipes, our roads that need to be worked on regularly because of the amount of traffic that we do have on Main Street. And I would like to see the building height not exceed what the code already has in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you get the next question.
Let's go.
All right. What are your thoughts on changing the land development code to lower current heights, setbacks, and easement?
Not in favor. I'll be honest. One of the things I like about Safety Harbor is it is one of the best zone communities I've seen anywhere. When I was a kid, I played a game called Sim City. If you don't know what it is, I can't waste my time for 2 minutes telling you about it, but I loved it. And I'd love to go back and play it now after living in Safety Harbor. Whoever developed our zoning here deserves amazing praise. We have consolidated our most dense commercialism into a single spot. It gets smaller, the heights get smaller as you go down Main Street. We have a very defined industrial park, and then we have very defined residential and parks. It is, you could not build a better Sim City than Safety Harbor. So when we go messing with that, that's when we have problems that we don't know. So I do not support changing heights any more than they already have.
Thank you. Jacob.
Yep. So height restrictions in Safety Harbor right now is about 35 feet. There's a couple of variances depending on which part of downtown you're zoned for. 35 feet is going to keep us pretty small and keep us pretty quaint. Now, I'm going to enter into my role as a commissioner, should I be elected, with an open mind. I want to keep them low. I think it is an appropriate height when you go down Main Street right now. But as we saw on the building that houses the Water Oak and Tiki Tavern right now, compromises to our current building code had to be made in order to get something in return. Extra parking, right, and other things as well. And it's a beautiful building that really enhances our downtown. So I am going to have to be convinced if code were to be amended to raise height to attract the type of business here that wants to do that, but I'd much rather be willing to entertain that notion than to see buildings stay empty. Thank you.
Thank you. Haley.
Would you mind repeating the question again?
Sure. What are your thoughts on changing the land development code to lower current heights, setbacks, and easement?
I would like to see more setbacks. I believe that we have too much stormwater runoff. I would like to see that changed because I believe that the green space around the homes downtown and close to the waterfront are most impactful to the bay, especially in our watershed areas that are not close to the bay. But I do think that it is important that we not only work to build out downtown going further west up Main Street, but I would also like to see some changes along 9th and bring in that side of the community and also offer some existing parking within the infrastructure that we have to encourage businesses that want to be in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
Yes. I've been reflecting and considering that perhaps in my years I have been involved with some of the tweaks that have been mentioned, and they've been successful tweaks. I remember the discussion of Iron Age, and I remember that we were flexible and that we did allow more. And I remember the builder at the time saving a tree, helping us save a tree by what he did. And I like what has happened with the tweaking, but I'm not in favor of going up, of going higher. I like creativity. I like the level we have right now. I'm not certain about the setback question. I would have to talk to the other commissioners, and I'd have to talk to the public, but I think where we are is working with the setbacks. We have enough space in front of our buildings, but yet we have the creativity to be creative and to position downtown to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question goes to Jacob. Jacob, what's the #1 challenge here in Safety Harbor?
#1 challenge here in Safety Harbor. It's got to be affordable housing. And this is a problem not just here, but basically everywhere, especially in Pinellas County. I wish that I could say I had a solution for this, but it's a really tough problem to solve. And I'll tell you why it's tough. Because preemption from the state right now is tying the hands of local governments to take action in a lot of these matters as well. That's going to be something we all have to deal with, and we're going to have to get creative. One suggestion that was brought to me that I think is viable is reviewing the code for ADUs, or accessory dwelling units, which would allow people to build more kind of either apartments above their garage or a secondary home in the backyard if the room permitted. That would allow some affordable housing for folks that may not live here but work and support this community. So that's going to be a tough one for us as the years go by.
Thank you. Haley.
I believe that our most pertinent and pressing issue right now is parking. As much as we would like to have a community that is more walkable, I will be honest, the majority of people in Safety Harbor like to drive from point A to point B. We can actually increase our parking within existing infrastructure by utilizing some places that have not been utilized yet. Along 9th and the railroad is an option. And we also could put in some special parking for motorcycles and golf cart parking, which I think the more people that have golf carts and come in, I think that's wonderful. I would like to see off-site, the way I know Barfly has a little parking area for them, but we can really cut down on the size of our parking side. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
I would like to jump on what Mr. Burnett said about affordability, and I feel as though I made a contribution to that because I was very supportive of Mr. Sutton and Habitat for Humanity, and we are going to welcome families to Safety Harbor who otherwise wouldn't have had a home. They're doing the sweat equity in the classes and all now, and there will be a build out of homes for people, several of whom who work here, and some of them have family here. So I'm proud of that. I didn't want to go big with it. I didn't want to all of a sudden have 24, 30, 50, but I wanted to make a contribution. I wanted Safety Harbor to step up, and we did. And that involved some conversations with some neighbors and some neighborhoods, and I think the conversations were fruitful. I also think we have to consider going forward. We have some aging properties, for instance, an aging mobile home park, and we have, as a community, are going to have to step up and look and say, what if that trailer park goes away? What do we want? Where will people live?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Scott, the #1 challenge here in Safety Harbor.
Yes, thank you. There's a number of things I could say. The housing affordability obviously is one. Our attack on home rule with the state legislature taking power away from us would be a second one. But I have to say parking, only because it's sucking the oxygen out of the room. That's what everybody is talking about. That's what everybody's been talking about for 10 years. Why are we still talking about it 10 years later? Let's get it fixed. 2.5 years ago, I emailed our commissioners with an idea. I found a company that has the technology of putting little tiny discs on every public parking space downtown, and we have hundreds of public parking spaces downtown. That transmits when there's a car there. So for all of you out there, you could download an app on your smartphone. You'd actually be able to see where every parking space is right now. It'd also give us the data to make the decisions on whether we need a garage or other things like that. We don't have that yet, and we need it. The number of commissioners that responded to that email, 1. When I was a commissioner, I never not responded to an email. You guys deserve better.
Thank you. Haley, you get the next question.
Okay.
The next question, would you be opposed to increasing taxes to balance a budget?
I don't believe that we need to increase taxes. I believe that we are actually in a very good place financially. And I think that what I would rather work on is finding a way to, instead of increasing taxes, is lower the insurance, the flood insurance burden on many of our residents.
Thank you. Nancy.
I spoke to this a bit earlier. We have a vibrant community. We love our community. We love our pickleball courts that are going in and that are going to be dedicated on the 16th of January. We love Little League. We love everything. We love public works. We want to keep people. We love fire. We love our chief having the flexibility to make new hires and to grow as a department. And we have a very low tax rate, in large part due to the conservative nature of the commission. And we're going to continue, if I'm up there, we're going to continue, I'm sure, to be conservative, but we're also going to continue to listen, to talk to you. I urge you to come out in July, no matter who is on the dais. Come out and talk. If you want to support our employees and you want to support our departments with a little hike, please do. I also wanted a little bitty bump up. I wanted a referendum on it for natural lands purchase, and the commissioners hated me on it. It was no, but I'd love you to weigh in someday.
Thank you. Scott.
Thank you. No commissioner ever wants to raise taxes. And if any commissioner says they won't consider it, I don't think they're doing their job. You have to consider all the facts that we have. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have a very, very difficult budget cycle coming up, probably the most difficult since 2008. Raising that millage rate is the absolute last thing you want to do, but at the same time, you want your trash to be picked up, you want your kids to be able to play basketball, you want all of the services, so we have to, and that's why I really think we need to be creative on how we find revenue. And one of the things that's driven me crazy is you drive around town, you see how many people have solar panels on their roofs. Our roof does too. Why do our city buildings not have solar panels? If you put solar panels on there, you're spending our reserves, which again are completely bloated, and then you're taking away the electricity line out of our general fund, which is really where the pain is. So that's just one idea, but we need creative commissioners that will look for more ones like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob.
Thank you. So the question was whether or not we'd be willing to raise the tax rate in order to balance the budget. This was done right around the 2012-ish time for Safety Harbor. They had to spike the millage rate up to 6% in order to balance the budget. Right now our budget is in pretty good shape, right, if you make it all through all 300 pages of it. But our current millage rate is 3.95. That is the fourth lowest out of 13 comparables around Pinellas County. Oldsmar, I think, is over 4. Bel Air is 6.5. Now, when I looked at millage rates, I think, no way do we need to raise them. Our property values are skyrocketing. We have tons of people moving in, paying new tax rates, where our revenue has increased a ton. At the same time, there's people standing up at commission meetings begging for raises for city employees, including fire departments, and saying they're willing to pay more taxes to get there. I've also talked to several department heads at Safety Harbor that start to suggest we might need a little bit more money than we have. So it's not outside the question, but I think we ought to be able to cover it with what we have.
Thank you. Nancy, you get the next question. The next question, what are your strategies, Nancy, for fostering community engagement and ensuring that the voices of all residents are heard in city government?
My strategy is that I love to eat, and I love to eat at various restaurants, and I'll throw out a couple of them. I go to Athens, and I sit and I talk, and I greet people, and I hear. And that's where I hear if there's a problem or somebody wants some advice. I like having coffee at Cafe Vino Tinto. I like the market on Sundays. I go and get some grapefruit. I go and get some of that luscious French baguette bread and chocolate chip croissants, and I'm there and I talk to people. I get my glasses, which I'm not wearing, but I get my glasses at Safety Harbor Optical. I go to the dentist in Safety Harbor, but my dentist doesn't want to be announced because he likes everybody, all sides. I throw myself into this community heart and soul. I walk at the park, I go to the church, I try. I volunteer for things like Paint Your Heart Out. That's how I hear about the community and how I'm engaged. I do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
I don't think anybody can question how engaged I am in this community. A couple of years ago, we set the Guinness World Record for the largest watermelon eating contest. I know that sounds silly, but if you think about bringing a community together to set a world record, that's pretty amazing. So that's in my blood. Everything you see me do is engaging this community, inspiring them to get out and help folks. And you ask about like getting other voices involved, and I think this is important as well too. My time on the Whispering Souls African American Cemetery Board has been very sobering to me. I learned how much I don't know, and I learned more about this city than I have ever known from any other board I've served on. I've had the fortunateness to befriend Louis Pons, who I think we all up here respect for what he's done. So there is definitely room to get folks that are not already engaged, and a lot of that is just being out there and inviting them to be part of something, even if it's something as silly as eating watermelon.
Thank you. Jacob?
Community engagement. This is great. I've been engaged with this community in a lot of the same ways that Scott has, just by being out there, having fun, being involved with a lot of voluntary groups, right, playing softball in the Sunday Softball League. What's been funny is since I've declared my candidacy, I've also very quickly gotten to hear everybody's opinion on what the city should and shouldn't do from people that I've known for a lot of years, which has really been great. Again, I'm going to go back to the citizen advisory boards. This is the gateway to really make a difference, and I want people to start circulating through those boards. And I've had to go directly to a lot of people and not just suggest it, but push them into getting their applications in because I know they're qualified and they would offer something to this community. On top of that, did you know we have a Citizens Academy that we are recruiting applicants for right now? So as a citizen, you can go to the Citizens Academy. I think it's about 8 weeks long, and you can attend everything that you would want to know about how the city works. The opportunities are there. We just got to get them out to everybody and get them in the ears of people. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Haley?
Yes, thank you for the question. Being engaged in the community is extremely important. I know I'm coming back to my involvement again with She's, our elementary school here, but that has been very rewarding. There are many other things that I have been involved in. I have participated in the debates that we have had within City Hall. I have showed up on many occasions to argue about what we want to see in our future, and I've also had many conversations with people that just no longer feel engaged. They do not feel heard. And the important thing for me is to bring them back to the table and have them engaged because every voice is important.
Thank you. Scott, you get the next question. What does resiliency mean to you here in Safety Harbor?
Resiliency means our future. It's everything. We live in a very environmentally amazing place. Every morning I start my morning walking through Felipe Park and Old Tampa Bay and watching the dolphins and the birds, and we absolutely have to protect that. That's one of the reasons that I've been pushing for solar panels. It's one of the reasons I've been pushing for other things. I was very proud to be endorsed by the Sierra Club in the last election, and we need to be working harder on this. I mean, we do now have a resiliency part-time officer, but some of us have been talking about this for years. So this is a small town. It doesn't take years to do anything here. So we need to keep our focus on that. And the stormwater is very important. We don't have enough time to talk about it, but as our city gets redeveloped, and that is the next step in our city is redevelopment, part of that will be these new buildings will have the new stormwater mitigation that our old buildings right now don't have, and that's very important.
Thank you. Jacob.
Thanks. Resiliency for Safety Harbor to me is not overcorrecting one direction or the other. We have a deep desire to maintain our green spaces, as I've mentioned before. That is super important to us. Without that, we're not attractive to people here. We've also got to get businesses supported in this town so that as property value goes up and their rents go up, that they don't have to leave because of that. Right? We've got to strike the balance of having strong businesses that are supported not just by locals, there's not enough of us to do it, but we're attracting people from the outside to frequent these places and keep their doors open. We've also got to create enough that the rising tide lifts all ships. Right? That means there's enough businesses here to attract people that want to patron all of them. On top of that, yes, right, keep an eye on the environment, keep your stormwater drainage appropriate, and make sure we're planning for the future, not just for what we can do today. Thanks.
Thank you. Haley.
Thank you. What resiliency means to me. Well, I would be piggybacking off of what my opponent here is saying, but it does come down to green space, setbacks to absorb stormwater runoff, and to make sure that appropriate impact fees are being assessed going forward with our new development and our aging systems. It's very important with resiliency to also have all communities engaged so that they understand what they can bring to the table and how they can also assist us in assisting them.
Thank you. Nancy.
Yes, thank you for that question. I was also supported by the Sierra Club at the last election. I was running for a different seat. And, well, the same seat, but I wasn't running against the same opponent. And I just want to tell you that I think resiliency is the backbone of who we are, because we're a tourist mecca. And people come here because they want to kayak. They want to use Ken Branbury's service and kayak around the bay. They want to do stand-up paddleboarding. They want clean water. They want a beautiful place. And that was one of the reasons that I suggested to the commissioners that I wanted to put on a referendum a little hike in Texas that would be dedicated to a land preservation fund, and we would have a board that would discuss how we would buy that land. Because I go way back with wanting to do land purchases. I can remember before we bought the King property adjacent to Public Works, I pushed for it. I threw out a number too at that meeting. I was naive at that time. I said, why don't we just offer the developer 180 and buy it? I think we eventually paid around that, and we have it. So thank you. Buffering land. Resiliency.
Thank you. All right, our next question. We will start with Jacob. Jacob, in this community, you mentioned getting more people involved. What are your strategies to get more people involved and include more diverse people in positions in Safety Harbor?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to repeat some of the things that I've already said. Citizen advisory boards are huge. If you didn't know, we've got a fairly new advisory board called the Diversity Advisory Board. And I've known a couple people that have been appointed to this board recently, and it is like a celebration for them when they get in there. And they've done a lot of great things. We've also got a lot of folks that have been on these boards for a long time. Some boards have term limits, some boards do not. Right? I'd be willing to entertain some term limits just to get some new vision through them. Okay? But you've got to go out and ask people. That's the thing. I've talked to so many folks and told them that I've served on these things, and they think, oh, that's really cool. I say, well, put in an application. We need you. All right? I've talked to the city clerk multiple times about this. The bench strength is weak. We've had events. We need to have more events. We've got to attract people on them. And then, once we get them in there, we need to elevate the responsibility of some of these boards, all right? Really make them a voice that the council wants to listen to because they're bringing the right ideas to the table. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Haley.
Please repeat the question.
Yes, in Safety Harbor, as Jacob mentioned before about diverse voices, what is your plan to get more diverse voices and diverse people involved here in Safety Harbor?
I think that comes down to simple walking and talking to the community, knocking on doors, being present. I'll piggyback off of what Scott Long has said. You always follow up on emails, calls. I know that personally when I've had concerns, Nancy has always done that. And I would like to be that person to be the voice for the people that, like I said, don't feel heard, or they're feeling overlooked, or their community is being overlooked. So I would like to have meet and greets every 3 months and try to cover all the different parts and diverse parts of Safety Harbor.
All right, thank you. Nancy?
Yes, thank you for that question about increasing diversity and increasing opportunity. And I am just thrilled to tell you that of our city department heads, the great majority are female. And we have a public works director, Renee, who's a female. And she is wonderful at recruiting. She holds recruiting events. She draws people from various walks of life. We have Michelle from engineering. We have Marcy from planning. We have Victoria, our new finance director. We have Andrea in recreation, and I'm sure I don't have enough time to mention all the departments. And we have me on the city commission. I represent diversity. You've welcomed a woman for many years, and I appreciate it. You've welcomed women before, but you've supported me a long time. And I also want to say that I've enjoyed the Diversity Advisory Board. I've gone off with them multiple times, going around neighborhoods, passing out literature and talking to people and encouraging them to get involved. The events at Folly help. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
Yes, thank you. It does seem like a little bit of a repeat of a previous question, so I hope I don't repeat what I said then too. But in terms of getting people involved, I do it by leading by example, as I mentioned. I'm out in the community all the time doing lots of things, putting together fundraisers, putting together special events, again, creating Safety Harbor strong. And I do all that because I hope when people see me doing it that they feel like they need to do it as well too. And I've certainly gotten that vibe from people as well too. I'm so involved that actually this past week 2 people asked me to do a fundraiser for Bassano Cheesecake, a for-profit company, so obviously I'm invested enough that people think that I can do that. In terms of diversity though, as I mentioned, my eyes have been opened with the Whispering Souls project. It's a very difficult challenge to get certain members of our community involved, and I'm just happy that I'm associated with folks that are members of that community that can help us through it.
Thank you. Haley, you get the next question. The next question: what are your specific strategies for supporting local businesses and promoting economic growth in this community?
Well, I actually single-handedly would be doing that for the past 4 or 5 years now, actively supporting many different businesses. I enjoy all the special events that we have, and I encourage that we have more of our local businesses involved. I've seen that in some cases we've actually taken away our local businesses, such as in the wine festival. We've lost a local merchant, and we do need to bring them back into the loop. There are more opportunities for our local restaurants to be vendors at special events. And I'd also like to encourage that the stability of the businesses is very difficult on a commissioner's side to address, but I would certainly work and listen to their concerns.
Thank you. Sorry about that abruptness. We got to get everybody in here. Nancy.
Yes, thank you for that question. I support local business by being a very active eating and machine. I also spend a whole lot of time here with my mother, Noreen. We've been members here close to 20 years, and we do less at the spa now because she's not as active. It's more bobbing about the pool. But as we bob, we meet the people I discussed earlier. We meet the people who are here from other cities and who are just entranced. They come from other states, they come from other cities, and we tell them where to go, where to eat, what to do. And we also we support the library. And I want to tell you, I'm so thrilled about our second story coming up because that's going to bring in people. And libraries bring in business. A gentleman on the path said to me, libraries, your great accomplishment is standing up the day you approve the library. Nobody uses a library, they're all online. I beg to differ, sorry. We have children's programs, we have adult programs. They bring in business to Safety Harbor. Thank you.
Scott.
Ditto to that, Nancy, on the library, absolutely. How do I support businesses? I probably should have just brought my credit card statement and shown that. I'm like, it won't compare to John and Barbara Duffy back there, but it's pretty darn close, I think. But no, seriously, as I mentioned, I have a very, very close relationship with a lot of our business owners. I've been very happy that they've trusted me to help them with issues they have with the city. Again, I haven't been a commissioner for 6 years, but I've kept involved with the government to the point that I've been able to help them out. When they had their trouble with the third Friday changes this year, I did a lot of behind the scenes on that. I was on the call when we worked with ABT on trying to find a solution for that as well too. And additionally, again, I raise a lot of money, and then when I raise a lot of money, I also tell businesses I'm not doing it just for the library, I'm doing it to make you money. And this Saturday, if you want to see that in action, come out and see our links for our library mini golf pub crawl. First time ever, we sold it out 3 days ahead. There'll be 300 people walking through town, not only raising money for our library, but supporting 23 businesses in town.
Thank you. Jacob.
Thanks, guys. Supporting local businesses is definitely one of my initiatives as well. I could partner up with these guys and show my credit card statement and tell you how much I support them myself. But beyond that, what we've got to do is create consistency on the patronage in our city, right? Since when I moved here 10 years ago, I wondered how our businesses survived by basically having enough business one day out of the month, third Friday, to pay for the rest of their month. And then when it got hot, they weren't getting out here. Now we see more consistent events, and we see people showing up to this town not because of an event, but because this is the place to be. We've got more, again, rising tide's gonna lift all ships. We can't have empty buildings on our main street. We've got to do what we can to fill them. That will attract even more people, and there will be a consistent population patroning our vendors more often. Also, not every event has to be the 4th of July. There was a lot of talk at a city council meeting about the British car show. This is a perfect example of something that we can promote because it doesn't bring in vendors that pull people away from our local restaurants. It pulls a lot of people into town. Those people go to our local folks, and we actually gave them a break on the fee because it supports locals. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Next question goes to Nancy. Let me just make sure I know what the question is. It's from one of the, oh yes, okay. One of the people here wants to know, all of you have talked about businesses here in Safety Harbor. What new businesses do you think Safety Harbor would benefit from? What type of new businesses would Safety Harbor benefit from?
Thank you very much, whoever posed that question. I think that health and nutrition businesses are one aspect that could really thrive here, and we have a couple that have popped up, and there was one recently where a woman wanted to come and do a type of business that didn't involve a full kitchen. It involved her mixing up nutrition shakes, and she came and spoke to us and said that our code didn't seem to quite be working for her, and how could we make this happen? And our Marcy looked at it, our planning department looked at it, and it's going to happen for her. So I like this idea of the emphasis on health. I think back to somebody from church, my friend Fred, a fellow usher's wife, Frances, said, she held me fully responsible. You must have 14 bars up and down the street. She said, what do you have for me? And Frances is gone now, and Fred is gone now, but I think we do have more things for them. We do have more variety, and I would like to have even more variety with health and fitness. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott.
Yes, thank you for the question. When I ran my first campaign, there were 3 specific businesses that I thought would be great for our downtown. One would be a seafood market, one would be a hardware store, and one would be a bike shop. Well, we're one of 3 so far. So, but the idea there is we are a small town. We can't be everything to all people, but to the extent that we can keep the money that we have in our community and not have to go to Clearwater, Dunedin, Tampa, St. Pete is really what we should be striving for. A couple things I'll mention. One, our industrial park has a fascinating number of companies. I mean, I know people don't drive through industrial park. That's kind of the reason we have industrial parks. But if you do, I mean, just look at the number of businesses there. We have a crypto company. We have plastic companies. We have people doing really amazing things there. So we already have a lot of creativity here. In terms of new businesses, I only have 15 seconds left. One of the things I will mention is some of our older buildings don't accommodate these type of new businesses. So when that redevelopment happens, as I mentioned it will, that will bring in some of those new businesses.
Thank you. Jacob.
This seems to be the question that's asked every single time we see an empty building. And I never in a million years would have dreamed that Bassano's would have turned into a cheesecake place. It wasn't it wasn't within the realm that I could think of, and I think there's going to be more of that happening downtown. We're going to be surprised with some businesses that pop up. Something that I think we will also see. Our downtown still has a lot of service-type companies on the lower level that are only open 9 to 5. I think as we start to attract more and more people here, those are going to start to go to the auxiliary streets or up high. Also piggyback off of what Mr. Long said about our industry. It's really important to our infrastructure that industry stays as it is. That's sort of adds that resiliency that we talked about earlier and diversity amongst these buildings. Now, I've talked to a couple of prominent restaurant owners here too, and they really have a dream of turning Safety Harbor into a food destination. It already is, but there's more opportunities to say, hey, go to Safety Harbor. There's a laundry list of places that you can have some of the best food in Pinellas County. We're getting there, and it's happening. Thanks.
Thank you. Haley.
Well, thank you for the question. What I actually envision is that we're not just focused on Main Street. We have a vast community that spans all the way up to the tip of Tampa, Old Tampa Bay. And there are opportunities to grow outside of Main Street. Now, we have been looking at a vacant grocery store for years now. We need that competition. We need to not be taking our taxpayer dollars across the street to Clearwater so that we can go to Publix or outside, to go even further. But to keep it close to home, as much as I'd love to do all of my shopping at the Tides, I do need to be a little bit more affordable, and I do need a little bit bigger of a selection. And I would like to just see how we can support businesses along Enterprise, and thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you get the next question.
Stump me, Tanya. Let's go.
Okay, all right, you ready? Okay, here it comes. Do you feel that Safety Harbor's current government operations and decisions they make are transparent? And if not, why?
Absolutely transparent. I can't imagine a more transparent city than we have here. I know there's this social media stuff going around about lack of transparency, and I just I want to know where work of fiction that this is coming from. We have a sunshine law here. It's completely abided by. I'm sure Nancy will say that when she gets an opportunity. We have a public records request, and I promise you there are plenty of people that make public record requests every day. It's like their hobby. There's nothing being hidden. There's no, I hear all these crazy stories about decisions being made behind smoke-filled rooms with developers and the mayor. I'm like, come on, you're killing me. Absolutely no proof or truth to that. I am very, very proud to live in a city that is as transparent as Safety Harbor.
Thank you. Jacob.
I'm going to agree with Mr. Long here. I believe our city is very transparent. And if you are unsure about that, log on to the City of Safety Harbor website, go to the documents section. There is so many documents in there. There's even a search bar in case you need to find it. This was very helpful to me when I needed treasurer report examples when I filled out mine for the first time. It's out there. All right. Commission, and when you look at the commission meetings, they speak openly and freely about the decisions they're going to make. All right. I've even seen a lot of them change their minds in the middle of a commission meeting. It's transparent. People aren't showing up with a predetermined decision. I was convinced that several of them would vote one way, and after hearing from the public, went another way. That's because you're seeing their decisions in real time. It's not a secret. It's out there for the public. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Haley.
I believe that there is a large gap there. We could definitely improve our transparency with the community. I believe that the website is very difficult to use. I think that you need to be very patient and very knowledgeable about how it works, correct wording to find what it is you're looking for. And there also is an issue where we do not hold the video data from each commission meeting for up to 6 months. I believe that that would actually be very helpful. It is archived, but it is in minute notes, and it doesn't translate the same as actually being able to see the video and see each commissioner's response.
Thank you. Nancy?
I love hearing great things about this current commission as part of this commission, and that is exactly what happened recently with the library decision. We were all hearing from the community. We were all getting email correspondence. We can't discuss it before the meeting. But then once we were there and once we started talking about what we were hearing in the community and what people thought, there were people who made decisions that I didn't think would be made. There was support for the library that I had thought evaporated. And so I was just really thrilled to see that team that I'm discussing with you, that tight team in action. We don't go in with closed minds. We do have to look at everything. And I think that we do make our information available. And I want to do a shout out to Jareen Dotson, because she keeps us honest. And there are others of you, I think Susan might be here, Zinko, I saw her earlier, shouting out, speak up, speak up, Bazor. So thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. We will now go to closing statements, and we will go in reverse order. So that means we will start with Haley.
Thank you. Well, I would just like to remind everybody that this is a very important vote coming up. This will possibly sway the power of our city commission. I want everybody to remember that it only takes 3 votes to make some serious changes. I am very excited to see what is on the ballot this year, and I think that it's very important that everybody look over that and understand that it's important to get the vote out. There are some precinct changes, and I would like everybody just to look into that, make sure that you know where it is to vote this year if you're voting in person, and make sure to check out the dates for the voting in person, early in voting, and also the vote by mail dates. Thank you.
Jacob.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a role in setting this up today and facilitating this event. Whether you're here in person or you're watching live stream or later on in your home later, I trust that now you have a clearer perspective on your choices as you cast your ballots between now and March 19th. If trusted with the role of commissioner, my commitment is unwavering. I pledge to approach every issue with an open mind, valuing the input of our community. As a strong listener, I'm dedicated to considering all perspectives. My guiding principles align perfectly with the values outlined in the current city master plan. I'm committed to striking a balance between community values and innovative, responsible growth, all while preserving our quaint character and small town charm. That's just in the city plan. That's our guidelines moving forward. As we move forward, please know that we'll also be hosting more events around town. All right, these gatherings will provide ample time to hash out some of our issues, share our visions beyond the constraints that we're in today. I can't wait to see and meet a lot more of you as the campaign progresses, and appreciate all of you being out here tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Scott.
Once again, thank you, the Chamber of Commerce, League of Women Voters, and the SPA, and all of you. I've only seen a couple people leave, so we haven't bored all of you, so I appreciate that. I absolutely love talking to people to the point that my wife kind of rolls her eyes when we're in downtown and somebody comes up and asks me a question. So, but you're going to see me, you're going to see all of us probably walking neighborhoods pretty soon, so I look forward to having a longer talk with you about that. I believe Tuesday there's a town hall Q&A at United Smokehouse, former Coastal Cantina, that we've all been invited to. I believe Jacob and I have committed to that. I believe there's some other businesses that might be having some of those too. I encourage you to come out to any of those that are scheduled. I love this tonight, but I'll tell you, 2 minutes is really hard to give a good, I mean, we're all laughing, I'm laughing too, but it is really hard to explain complex issues in 2 minutes. So at a town hall format, you have an opportunity to get really detailed, nuanced answers. So please look for those opportunities as well too. And of course, you can always go to votescottlong.com and my Vote Scott Long Facebook page and learn more about that. Send me messages. I'm downtown every day. You're going to find me if you need me. But the last thing I will say is we talked about a lot of great issues tonight. We'll talk about a lot more great issues between now and March 19th. The reality, though, is this is a 3-year term. There are going to be things that come up that none of us are thinking about right now. So I would encourage you to consider the candidate that's going to be able to pivot and respond to those challenges that we don't yet know about. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Thank you. Nancy.
Thank you very much. I am also very appreciative. I'm appreciative to the League. I'm appreciative of Cami and the Chamber of Commerce. Public speaking is not my strong suit. Many of you have seen me grow. I used to shiver in my timbers, and I've gotten a lot more direct, I hope, over these years of experience and years of getting to know you and caring about you. I will see you door to door. I have made 5,000 of my cards with my telephone number, home phone number, and I will return your call if you'd like to talk to me. And I want to quote what a Republican legislator said, Mr. Andrade from Pensacola said. He quoted Lil Wayne, and I'll have more to say about that in a minute. But he said, if it ain't broke, don't break it. And the fire chief and I were talking about that, and he said, don't you think it meant if it's not broken, don't fix it? So I looked it up, and oh, egads, the language. I'm sorry if you go to Lil Wayne and check my quotation. It's vulgar. But what I do want to tell you is this commission is not broken. We're great. We're working tremendously for you. And as I said, we're going to lose Cliff. We're going to lose Commissioner Merce. But I hope you won't lose me. I think I add some color and some variety, and I would love to still be up there helping this city progress, again, in a balanced manner, moving forward with sanity and compassion. I have those soft skills. I have performed under pressure. I've been booed by many of you in this room before. I have, and I stood up, I looked you in the eye. I just said, I have to move ahead. I used to have a website, but I stopped that idea. My webmaster got in trouble, and I had somebody yell his name to me on the path at Philippi Park, and I was so appalled. I don't think I'll ever have a website made for me again. But as I said, that had no connection with me. It didn't have to do with what I'm saying to you about my connection to her, but everybody is connected in some way in this city. And thank you. Tell people about me.
Thank you. Thank you. If we could just remind everyone that election is March 19th and that the deadline to register is February 20th, in case any of you are not registered to vote, to go to the SOE site. Please also remember that you have to request a mail ballot now, so if you have not done that, that's also go to the Supervisor of Elections site and request a mail ballot. This concludes the forum, and I have to say I've been doing a lot of forums. It's not every day you hear Lil Wayne come out, so props to her. But now is your chance to go wild for all of your candidates. Let's give them some applause.
Thank you.
Good job.